In this short presentation on Budget 2020-21, Policies for Inclusive Growth, I will highlight 3 issues and suggest policy solutions that can be included in the budget. The first issue is declining trend in GDP growth, policy reforms for accelerating inclusive growth. Second issue is rise in unemployment due to contagion fears, particularly in mass contact services, where targeted government expenditures and incentives are needed. And the third is weakness in poverty alleviation and public health systems, where in the first, integration of reform of welfare systems is needed, and on the second I'll make just one suggestion which is not normally considered. First, the topic of promoting inclusive growth and growth policy. The key role of SMEs, startups in employment generation is widely recognized. What we need to do is to reduce the tax compliance burden on these small entrepreneurs, both in terms of cost of compliance and the time they have to spend worrying about these issues, by simplifying and rationalizing the direct and indirect tax systems. The most important in this context is to bring the direct tax code up to 21st century best practice. The second is indirect taxes, which consist of both GST and import tariffs. In the GST, we need to have a single rate on and no cess on more than 75% of items. Particularly important and a good example of what it can achieve is in textiles, fibers, fabrics, etc., where the differential rates on cotton, man-made fibers, artificial fibers, mixed fabrics, etc., has had a negative effect on production, competitiveness and export of these items. The second aspect is the import tariffs, where uniform rates of tariffs are the simplest form adopted by many countries. And again, this is especially important in textiles, where there are still tens of specific duties on different textiles items, which creates a nightmare for exporters who are honest and need to import different items to manufacture their exportable goods. In addition, most economists recommend lower rates of tariffs as a way to promote import and export simultaneously to increase trade. But I disagree on one point. I think an exception needs to be made on items where we are correctly providing incentives through the PLI scheme to build minimum efficient scale. But it's very important that the timing and phasing of these tariffs be very, very carefully thought through and not use a scattershot approach of raising tariffs on a number of items. If these direct and indirect tax code simplifications are made, we can improve export growth, especially of man-made and mixed textile fabrics and ready-made garments, where our performance is very, very poor so far. And secondly, generally we can promote competitive import substitution through a shift of global supply chains to India. Coming down specifically to agriculture EXIM policy, it is very important that the reforms on domestic agricultural reforms made earlier are complemented by external policy reform to promote agricultural exports, because exports can provide a huge market to our agricultural sector. The basic problem here historically has been ad hoc changes in QRs, which are quantitative restrictions, import tariffs and export duty in response to weather problems, etc., which seldom benefit either the poor consumer or the farmer. But they raise the risk of investment in supply chains, particularly supply chains for newer items. So we need to replace this current system by a fixed import tariff, export duty bands for these type of products within which prices can fluctuate freely. This will protect consumers and producers from excessive price fluctuations, but provide a more stable framework for diversification of allied and agricultural exports. The second issue, which I mentioned at the beginning, the unemployment which has been created because of the pandemic and the fears that arise from contagion. Now, unemployment rate normalized very quickly in the post-lockdown phase starting from July. However, the labor force participation rate was around 2% points lower. And this was because both supply and demand for labor in these contact services which I mentioned fell. Now, very recently in December, apparently because of lower contagion fears, most of these, 3/4 of these people who are withdrawn from the market are back in the market, but and looking for jobs. So the unemployment rate has jumped up. Now, till vaccination is results in controlling COVID, we need to do two things. One, accelerate infrastructure and public goods projects which are construction intensive, because construction intensive projects generate immediate employment, unskilled employment and semi-skilled employment, and they also stimulate consumption demand. The second aspect is to reduce contagion fears, which especially in indoor contact services, which is a reason for this imbalance in December, where the supply of labor has come back, but the original demand has not come back because of pandemic. So we need to incentivize installation of various cleaning and filtration systems, which will reduce this fear of catching a virus from others in an indoor unclean setting. The third issue which I raised at the beginning was welfare and public health. The pandemic has revealed gaps and known weakness and adding to the known weaknesses in the poverty alleviation system, which requires systemic reform, which require overall reform, not tinkering with individual parts of that system, to ensure that no vulnerable person is unreachable or left behind. For this, in my view, we need to create a digital system with three elements. One is a welfare stack. The second is a virtual integrated smart card, which can also reside on this welfare stack. And three is a mobile wallet, which can have a virtual copy of this PSIC on mobiles, as well as be used as a channel for welfare payments wherever the person is. So the welfare stack we have must include all central and state government poverty alleviation programs, and we have the experience of Health Stack and FinStack, which will help us design this system. The second part is the virtual integrated smart card, and this will cover all poor and vulnerable households, and therefore ensure inclusion. And the third one is the mobile based wallet, and this was critical for empowering migrants, for example, where we saw these earlier problems in the pandemic year, as well as rural women who are much less mobile than men and do not have the freedom or the resources to leave their homes and go to a bank which may be very far away, or wait for the banking correspondents to come to their particular village. So three elements of this system can be combined to have a much better welfare system. And finally, one very important point in public health system which I want to make, which is not made very often, is that sewage is a channel for spread of epidemics. Even in this COVID epidemic, they have found that bathrooms where toilet facilities are there, where toilets is done, has a much higher concentration of the corona SARS-2 virus. But looking forward into the future, there will be other pandemics which are transmitted more through the sewage than through the air as the COVID is. So we need to modernize our sewer systems, and perhaps the central government can start a new mission to do that. One very important additional benefit in the current situation where we have read that the reduction is that this can have the added benefit of reduction in stunting and wasting in under 5 years, which is caused by something called environmental enteropathy. This is not a very well-known fact and is often confused with lack of nutrition. But actually, when children have environmental enteropathy, whatever nutrition they take is not absorbed into the guts. So I think this is a very important time where we can push forward in this. Now, to conclude, if given all the reforms which have already taken place, which like labor reforms, agri reforms, and several other reforms which have been done since September 2019, we can expect a double-digit rebound in economic growth in the next financial year. And if several of the policy suggestions which I have given in brief in this presentation are made, then we can also hope and expect to return to the fast GDP growth of earlier years and sustain it, let's say, at over 7% or between 7 and 8% for another decade. Thank you.